Okay,
Hello,
cool.
everyone. This is Realtor Linda Peltz. Today I'm here with one of my little Realtor cohorts, Ivan. Ivan, introduce yourself.
How's it going, everybody? Ivan Leon.
And he's also with eXp Realty, and he's going to join us today with Andrew, and he's going to tell us about some cool lending aspects. Take it away, Andrew.
Cool, thank you. Hey guys, my name's Andrew Morales. So I'm with Zabe Mortgage. I've been with them for a little time now. So just wanted to kind of go over what we do as a lender, how we're a little bit different than most lenders here in the area. Just kind of go over our timelines, our processes. Of course, we're not going to bore you with programs and rates because everybody's got the same programs and rates at the end of the day. So we're just going to kind of go over our processes and what we do for clients and how we help them and educate them to be confident home buyers in this troubling times in the markets. I mean, of course, interest rates are high, real estate prices are high. Everybody's kind of very scared, very not educated as far as buying a house, right? Nobody really knows, is it a good time to buy? Am I making the right decision? A lot of times, maybe they even get into a transaction and they're kind of clueless as far as what their monthly payment is, what's their interest rate. A lot of different questions that come up like this a lot of times. So to give you guys kind of a background of how I kind of got started in the industry, I was a notary in the beginning, went to school, was going to school for business in Fresno State here locally. Eventually got my notary license to do the notary signings, and then COVID hit. So then I went full time at home, and I said, you know what? Might as well just do this notary thing and see where it goes. And went and did that for about 2 years. And I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly of real estate. So I saw
There
good
is
trends.
all of them, I'm afraid. And that's what
Yeah,
us
yeah.
realtors are for, is to protect our clients from some of that ugly, I'm afraid. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I saw, like you said, the ugly. I saw the good of the good sides of it. I saw great realtors. I saw not so great realtors. I saw great lenders, and I saw so great lenders. And I
mhm.
dealt with a lot of lenders during COVID times because of low interest rates. So we saw refinances, the HELOCs, the equity be taken out, purchases and sales. So I saw a little bit of everything. And one of the most common things that I seen as a notary is the education part, right?
Mhm.
Not a lot of clients knew a lot about anything, right? Maybe they knew their monthly payment and their interest rate, but why were they into that program, right? Why were they going to conventional when FHA rates were a little bit better, right? Why were they going
I think a
FHA?
lot of times the clients understand that everybody's background is different. You know, your credit
Exactly.
score is different. Things have
Mhm.
occurred in your past, things are happening right then and now. And it does
Mhm.
affect all the different types of loans. And I think that's where
Mhm.
education is so important from you lenders when you get a client, that you educate them on, okay, they may qualify for whatever, two or three different programs, but you don't qualify for some of this other stuff. Maybe their income's too high, maybe their income's too low, maybe, there's just so many different factors that it is total education when it comes to our clients, isn't it? And we almost become
Exactly.
symbiotic as a realtor and
Mhm.
a lender. We kind of have to educate from both sides in order to get them to kind of understand, to get them through this transaction a lot of times.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of education. It's like you said, and like you said too, there can be three different programs that they qualify for, and sometimes they're not. There might even be programs that they didn't even know they qualify for, but a lender just shot them the pre-approval letter and said, "Hey, congratulations, you're approved for 350." And then, a lot of times I'll get second opinions that say, "Hey, Andrew, I heard you do these first-time buyer programs. I'm a first-time buyer. The guy I went through says I qualify for 350, but he didn't give me anything about first-time buyer." So they'll tell me, why is that? Is there a way I can take a look to see what other options are there? And so we say, yes, Mr. Barber, thank you for reaching out to us. We're actually going to give you that side-by-side comparison and show you, what are the pros and cons? Why did your lender actually give you this program at 350? I don't know. We're going to dive deep into it, and we're going to show you why. And we'll give you those different options there, and then you decide if you want to, move forward with that program that he's giving you, or you want to try to do a first-time buyer program. So that's our process. A lot of it is education, giving clients a information on a voluntary basis rather than a need to know basis, right? So instead of saying, hey, Mr. Borrower, we have to let you know about this. It's no, we're going to give you this information and we're not going to just keep you in the dark about anything that's going on. We're going to make sure that you're aware of the things prior to us even, getting into contract, getting in. So that way they're educated and they're confident home buyers. And it reduces the risk for people backing out, it reduces the risk for people falling out of escrow because their loans all jacked up, or things that came up that we're never aware of it. So we do a lot of our processes, education one, and then two is being a thorough pre-approval. So a full-blown pre-approval with verification of employment, verifying income and assets.
So
All of those
important.
things are taken into the beginning because we get lots of clients that say, my lender just called me and says that I've been approved. I was like, okay, great. Did they verify your employment? No. Okay, well, did they not know that you had a bankruptcy on your credit that was like filed like 4 years ago? No. They didn't tell me that was going to be an issue. And I'm like,
The
oh,
way
this
I
is why
try to
we do things.
explain it is talking to a lender and submitting paperwork and documentation is two different things. Pre-qualification is the lender talked to you, asked a few questions. They said, Mr. Borrower, said yes, no, whatever. And you're
Mhm.
right. Nothing was verified, but
Yeah.
verification is so important. We need a full-fledged pre-approval, and my
Mhm.
preference is the pre-approval with underwriting so that
Yeah.
it has, because yes, you may be submitting paperwork to Mr. Andrew here, but
Yeah.
he's not the one in the back office pre-approving everything. So
Mhm.
he needs to get underwriter approval in order to, be assured that he's got a good, strong borrower here and that we're going to get closed because it is so important. You don't want to get halfway through a transaction and something sneak in that wasn't verified and boom, it falls out of escrow. So can all be
Right.
avoided.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all things that you can do up front that can avoid, issues in the long run. And being an unwritten pre-approval is one of them. So usually whenever we get all of the process through, submit it to the underwriter, they thoroughly check it, make sure everything looks good. And then we do kind of a realtor told me, you guys do kind of like a mini escrow in the beginning. And we go, yeah, it's getting all of that stuff
Mhm.
cleared ahead of
Very
time.
good way to
So
put it. Yeah. Mini
yeah.
escrow.
Yeah, mini escrow, yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll use that term. Yeah, we'll use that. So
Well,
I want to go ahead and just go in. I'm going to show my screen.
definitely. Go
Just
for
kind
it.
of a little landing page we have here with just some of our information of our processes and the names for it. So you guys are aware of how this process works and you can kind of follow along. So let
Okay,
me,
great.
all righty. All right, let me know if you guys can see this.
I can see it.
Cool.
Do's and
So
don'ts.
Cool. Okay, so this here is it's our little landing page on my website here. It's what we call is home ownership by design. So home ownership by design is simply just in simple terms, it's saying that we're developing and creating a strategy for first-time buyers or second-time buyers, people who are purchasing investment properties, and it's creating a plan and a strategy for them for achieving their purpose of home ownership, right? So it's about strategy. I always say it's about strategy, not just about rates and programs, right? You can
Definitely.
have a program that has a lower rate, but is it the best strategy for you? That's the question, right? We'll have sometimes where we have a conventional loan with a low mortgage insurance, and then we'll have an FHA with a lower interest rate but a higher mortgage insurance, and they actually kind of sometimes balance out, or sometimes the conventional loan might be better even at a higher interest rate. So a lot of times people have that conception of lowest rate, can I get approved like in the same day? And that's not what we're trying to achieve here. What we're trying to achieve is home ownership by design, right? The whole idea of getting a thorough pre-approval, getting a proper strategy that's going to make sense for these first-time buyers.
Well, that
Um,
gives us realtors kind of a list, I guess, on what to look for in homes to
mhm,
present to the buyers so that, you know,
exactly.
you may qualify for, five of the seven that's out there, but you may not qualify for the other two. But it helps us kind of determine, no, this one will fit, no, this one will fit, nope, that one, those aren't going to fit. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think I'm glad you kind of mentioned that, Linda, because I think we just had the FHA flip rule that just came out. A lot of people didn't know about it. They're like, "Oh shoot, I didn't know this property was a flip." And I say, "Yeah, FHA is not going to let you. This property is not going to work because it's just within that 90-day time span. We're going to have to maneuver, maybe switch you up a different program if you really want this house." So a lot of that stuff, comes with working as a lender and a realtor. Like you said, simultaneously.
yes.
Um, Now, I want to kind of go in here. So this is kind of what we give for our clients here. We call it our total cost analysis. So this, every time we ever are going to meet with them in the beginning, or we're going to meet with them for our strategy consultation, and I'll show you guys our timeline there. This here is going to go ahead. We pull up all these numbers here, these different options for different programs for buyers. So we show them what a FHA loan looks like, what a conventional loan looks like, and then what these programs look like with an FHA and a conventional. So we'll give them a side-by-side comparison. We can highlight it if they say, you know what, Andrew, I can't make it to the appointment, but you think you can do it with me over the phone on my computer? I go, absolutely, Mr. Barrow. We can talk with you and we can actually highlight all of this information in real time. It's interactive, so we can be together one-on-one, making sure you're getting this info correctly.
That's
So we,
that's a good point you bring up. I think it's so important to meet face to face with your borrower or with your lender,
Mhm,
and you meet with your borrower as well as your realtor, so that you
mhm,
can all get on the same page because we do become very symbiotic through these transactions, and a lot of times
mhm,
the information transfers over between the two industries, and it
mhm,
takes both of us to get these transactions closed. So that's a very good
mhm.
point.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, and it's working together, doing what a lender does best and letting the agent doing what the agent does best and working one-on-one together. So
Yeah,
like I said
that's a
here,
really that's a really good point, Andrew. I actually had the most recent client that I currently am working with right now. They reached out to me and I let them know, hey, provide me the contact information to your lender that you're currently working with. And
Mhm,
I basically gave a breakdown as to the reason at why, right? And it's because me as a realtor, I did not want to go directly, have the client be in between and then reach out to the lender when I could
mhm,
just do it directly. And then vice versa, it works both ways where the lender could reach out to me if they have any questions. If I need a pre-approval right away or something to be fixed that same day,
mhm,
I could just reach out to him or her and then they'll be able to update it for me. That's actually what happened to the most recent client was we needed a pre-approval letter right away.
mhm,
And all I had to do was reach out to their officer,
mhm.
lending officer, and she was extremely helpful to just get back to me as soon as possible and providing the documents that were needed. So I think
Nice.
that's extremely beneficial. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, it's working one-on-one because ultimately our goal is to help the client. So if we have people in between us that are trying to, make us work together, or there's a barrier in between us working together, that's going to create some issues in communication for sure. So, so yeah, here going back here to the total cost analysis. Again, you can kind of see just the full breakdown there. All the highlighted information goes over what the monthly savings are, different options for cash to close. Bringing down that cash to close or bringing it up. If depending on if what the goals are, right? Is monthly payment the biggest concern for you, Mr. Barr, or is it cash to close that's the biggest concern? Is interest rate your issue, or are you just looking to see if you can just get into anything for the cheapest option possible? Cool, we're going to show you that option for you and let you make the decision what you want to do. Because I always tell them ultimately, I can get you a program that I think is going to be good for you, but at the end of the day, you're the one who's paying the loan for the next 30 years.
And
So
needs to be
you
happy.
tell me.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So I tell them, you tell me what you want to do. But yeah, this just gives them kind of perspective here and just lets them know what's going to be the best option for them. So now kind of going into the next few things here, I want to go into our process here. So again, homeownership by design, the Zabe way. So I kind of created this little flyer here for you guys that just shows the different process in our timeline when we're going ahead and getting somebody pre-approved. So our first step, I always tell borrowers, is our discovery consultation, right? So I tell them, hey, Mr. Barr, fill out your application. Once we get all your application documents submitted, come and sit down with me for our discovery consultation. This is where we're going to sit down with you and we're going to get to know you and what your goals are for buying a house, right? So it goes into a deep aspect as far as we go into their full application. We say, hey, okay, I noticed that you have you're working at Bath and Body for 2 years, but then you took a hiatus and you went to go work at McDonald's. Why is that, Mr. Borrower? And so they kind of give us a little bit of explanation, and that creates a game plan for us of how to go around it or what we need to work on before we even start the process. And that kind of weeds out a lot of issues for a lot of borrowers. And then the next step of the discovery consultation, of course, is getting to know you, right? What is meaning a home? What is meaning or what does purchasing a home mean to you, right? I had a borrower that I asked. I said, "Hey, you've been pre-approved a couple of years ago. You didn't buy a house. But why is that?" And he said, "Well, Andrew, I just wasn't ready at the time, and but I think now is the time." And I said, "Well, what does buying a house mean to you?" And he told me, "Well, it's everything. It's where my kids are going to go to school. It's where I'm going to be able to raise my family. We're planning to have another kid. Buying a house is a sense of security for us. It's a sense of, the next chapter of our life." And I say, "Thank you for sharing that. We're going to do everything we can to get you into a house. And if we're not ready now, as long as you're willing to stick with me and, stick to the plan and the processes we have for you, we're going to get you into a house eventually. So if it's not
Yeah.
now, it's going to be eventually."
And that's a good point. It might not be tomorrow. It might be
Mhm.
6 months down the road. It may be a year down the road. And there are times when it does, like you said, take a couple years,
Yeah.
there again, everything's a little different and every single's passed. And, sometimes maybe there needs to be a little prep. Maybe, like you
Mhm.
said, the educational part of it, maybe they're overwhelmed, and can't make, maybe they made 5 decisions, but they're struggling with the sixth, seventh, and eighth, and then, we have to get them kind of through that. And so there's different things that hold it up. It's not always just your credit. But
Mhm.
I do think it's important that you start with a lender that you trust and get on a good team with a realtor and a lender, and
Mhm.
we can become symbiotic together and work through the process. And maybe it's the repairs that are kind of stressing a buyer, or then again, it might really be something on the lending side. So we can all
Mhm.
work together as a team, realtor and lender, and kind of educate them on whatever it is that's maybe overwhelming them to get them through the next step to
Mhm.
to that end goal of home ownership.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And this is where, why we meet with them in the beginning to discover what their goals are, what are their concerns. And this is where we begin to know the client. I think a lot of lenders are just pre-approval, we'll see you. Congratulations, you've been pre-approved, go shopping, right? But they don't get to know what are their needs, what are their goals, what are they trying to do? What does it mean to them to buy a house?
Mhm.
So that's where we try to build that trust. And like you said, building that trust with the client, with your lender, and with your agent. And this is where that trust begins to happen. And then we move on to the next step, which is our verification process, number two. So this is one of our most important steps, of course, is verifying income, verifying assets, verifying, is your credit good? Getting a full breakdown as far as what is the income, what is the employment. It's getting a full thorough application submitted so that way we avoid any of the hiccups down the road. I always say we rather get it done now, bite it in the bud now than rather than wait down the road for it to blow up in our face. So this is where I think I've noticed, at least with my clients that I've gotten recently for second opinions, is this is where most lenders will drop the ball. They type up the numbers and they say, "Hey, you know what, you look good. Pay stubs look good. I think you guys are good. You're solid. Go ahead and just start shopping for homes." And then they tell me, "Andrew, he didn't even verify my income. He didn't reach out to my employer. He didn't have me sign up anything. He just told me I look good." And I'm like, "Well, your W-2s don't match the pay stubs. The employer's telling me a different story. It's all over the place, man. I gotta get this verified. It might take a couple of days. Your lender approved you on the spot. I'm looking out for your best interest to save your EMD, to save, you falling out of escrow."
That is a very
So
good point. I just had one go through, and you remember the transaction, Ivan, on the Tranquility property, and it had fell out of escrow because of lending issues. They weren't there again, all the way through underwriting. And then we put it back in, or we was going to put it back into escrow, and there was a buyer that hadn't won the escrow the first time. All right. So I went back and I said, okay, this is fell out of escrow. If you want a second chance at it, here you go. And so of course, the realtor is super excited, and that's who I work with is the realtor. And her job is to get a hold of their lender, like you say, and verify, right? Now we're good to go on this. If we win this escrow, we're good to go. Guess what? They did a re-verification and they were no longer able to get that home. They were just heartbroken, So it is so important to stay in contact with your lender and don't make any crucial financial changes until you get into that house, and stay in contact with, you do have to make a financial change with that lender because it can affect it. And sometimes it can mean the difference between getting into a home and not getting into a home.
hmm hmm. Yeah, and that's a very good point. That's one of the when we meet with them, we actually give them a flyer. I'll show it to you guys right now. It's called our do's and don'ts list. So we always say, don't apply for any credit. Don't co-sign. Doesn't matter what the guy tells you. If it's not going to show up on your credit report, it's going to show up if you co-sign, right? Don't even try. Don't go there. So we try to equip them with that proper education to avoid that. And of course, staying in touch with them as we go through the process is a big one too. So after our verifications process, which I say generally takes up 1 to 4 days, again, it just depends on when the employer can get back to us. Sometimes they get back right away. Sometimes they drag their feet and it takes a long time. But I always tell them it's better to get this figured out beforehand before we get into escrow. We start falling out of escrow because things are just flying everywhere.
Yeah.
So after the verifications process, then we call our borrower and we say, hey, Mr. Borrower, congratulations. We just got all of your income verified and everything looks good to go. We're going to sit down for our loan strategy consultation. So in this process of our consultation, we sit down with them for a second time. The second time that they come in, this is where we talk thoroughly numbers. So we say, Mr. Borrower, I notice your credit's really good. You can qualify for conventional. You can do an FHA program. This is what I recommend is if you want to do conventional, these are the options. If you want to do it with conventional first-time buyer programs, this is what it looks like. And then I narrow it down. First-time buyer programs, I got a couple for you. I got CalHalfa. CalHalfa is a great program. Of course, they're going to cover your down payment, but you got to think about closing costs, right? Do you have, what are you thinking about closing costs? Do you want to cover that on your own? Do you want to get a little bit more assistance? If so, I got another program for you, higher interest rate, but it's going to cover that cash to close. So what are you thinking? Are you thinking you can swing this? You want to do something else? And this is where we thoroughly go down that loan strategy with them is getting them that thorough pre-approval process so they know what they're getting pre-approved for when they go out shopping. It's not, a lot of times I had an agent tell me, Andrew, this guy was pre-approved. He shows up, he wants to submit an offer on his house, and I ask him, do you even know what your monthly payment is? And he had no idea. And I was like,
I was just gonna say it is so important because just because you're pre-approved for say 450, you may not want that payment for 450. You may only want to go, 400,000. I don't know. That's something between you and the lender, and it is so important that the lender's thorough and you have a full and thorough understanding of the consequences, right? Or the aftermath of what decision you're about to make, because we don't
yeah.
want to get partway through escrow and then you go, but I don't want that kind of a payment. I only wanted this kind of a payment. Those are things you got to decide before we go into escrow.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Yeah, is giving them this loan strategy consultation is going to put all of those worries into perspective for them. And it's going to say, hey, you said 450, we got you 450. This is the monthly payment. This is what your cash to close is. You want to go this route. And they say, you know what, Andrew, 450, I was messing around. I actually want to do 350 instead. I said, okay, cool. Let's punch in 350. Let me throw out the numbers for you. What do you think, Mr. Borrower? Oh, that looks great. Let's do that. And I said, okay, cool. Let me go ahead. I'm going to do this strategy. I'm going to submit it to our underwriter. They're going to give me the green light, and then we're going to get you fully pre-approved. So
Nice.
then that's where we go through the loan process, of course, the closing, congratulations, offers accepted. We get to work on it, and then we can close in less than 30 days a lot of times because we've already done a lot of the legwork in the beginning. So that's where we can get um, these fast closing times because of all the legwork we've done in the beginning. And then of course, faster closing times means more offers accepted for you guys, right? And
Definitely. And if you get them, the full underwritten ones, a lot of times you shaved off 10 days to where you can almost compete with a cash offer that, if
Mhm,
you're just starting pre-qual, you haven't even submitted documents yet,
mhm.
you can't compete. You need 30, 45 days for some of those, whereas, that fully underwritten approval, you just shaved off 10 days. We can compete now with cash. So that's a very cool
Yeah.
part of it. And I think that's where education will come in again. And it's so important that the buyers realize that this is your first step. Lender's always your first step. And if you're serious and you want to take our time, you need to be serious and get all the paperwork in because it is going to take time. So
Mhm,
I think that's just an important point to make.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and that's a good point is having like you said, having all those documents, having everything updated because it shaves off a good amount of time. I had a couple people tell me that their lender was doing verification of employment during escrow, and I'm like, that's not a good idea. I'm like,
Have been done
that's not
ahead of
good.
time, in my opinion, but I'm not a lender.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm like, that's not a great idea, but if you want to do it, in case something blows up, that's the reason why. But yeah, it's having all of that stuff taken care of it in the beginning because then it creates a smooth process. And a lot of times, a lot of borrowers will say, Andrew, I've heard as a notary, a lot of times they'll say, man, it was the most stressful time. And I'm like, I mean, I can see why it would be stressful, maybe if appraisal stuff comes up, but loan process should be pretty smooth, right? They should have that stuff taken care of in the beginning, but it's
And I
creating a
think that
smooth process.
differentiates you lenders, between great lenders and boy, we just barely flew by the seat of our pants on that one. So
Yeah.
might not think about that particular lender again.
Mhm.
They will think about the great ones that made it as I don't know that you can take out 100% stress, but a lot of
Mhm.
the good lenders have dealt with a lot of it in the beginning to where we're not under the pressure of hello, 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 we need this, we need this, we need this. And
Mhm. Mhm.
we still have, we're behind on all our due dates and deadlines and different
Mhm.
things. So
Yeah, yeah. It creates it alleviates the stress, but I think it also creates buyer confidence as well. If you feel, you know
definitely.
what, if I can buy my first house and it was this easy, then I can go on to the second home and the investment property. And I can and it creates enthusiasm for a buyer because now you feel that you have people on your side that you can trust that they're gonna do a good job, that are gonna achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Mr. Barr, as long as you can make the money and if you have the enthusiasm to go after and get it, we're gonna make sure that we're gonna make it happen for you. So
Definitely.
that's what I usually will tell my buyers.
Definitely.
Now, kind of branching off the loan process and the closing, I want to kind of show you guys what we do for writing up offers for and giving pre-approval letters to our borrowers. So we send them this link here. This is another um, landing page that I create. So this is just kind of an example here of a pre-approval letter. So we'll kind of just draw up this pre-approval letter for them. We show them full breakdown again, 30-year fixed rate FHA loan. We'll go over the sales price, the loan amount there. We have all of their info. We also disclose, hey, your credit's been verified, income's been verified, closing funds are verified, giving the listing agent just that extra reassurance that we've already done our due diligence on this borrower. Of course, we give you guys our loan coordinators information as well. Let them know that we can close in 30 days or less, that we're confident. Give you guys a little bit of info there on the property there and just ourselves. And then we go over just a couple of things here. So this link is for, of course, listing agents, but also we email this to our borrowers. So this goes over our do's and don'ts list. Hey, Mr. Borrower, do not, notify if there's been any changes. Do your dues and also be aware of your don'ts. I always tell them, don't just look at it and throw it in the trash at home. Read this, right? Thoroughly read it and get
Definitely.
familiar with it because this is what's going to determine whether you guys buy your house or not. And so then
And I
that
would
puts it.
imagine, you know, knowing most lenders, you probably give them a folder with all this stuff and they are, you know, inundated with tons of information, but some of it's
Mhm,
really important and keep it in
mhm.
that file and do read it. Don't just go home and, you know, stick it down in a hole somewhere and never look at it because it's really important. Some of this information these
Yeah,
lenders are giving you. It's one of the biggest steps, financial steps you're going to make in your life. So make sure you're prepared
exactly.
for it. Andrew,
Exactly.
do you have anything in closing you'd like to share with us? Maybe contact information, anything like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, so I can go ahead. This is my contact info here. Of course, I have my phone number, email. I can always shoot you guys over my contact info as well.
Definitely. And we'll
Um,
include it in the articles and down below. So everybody don't worry, we'll have it right there for you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So you guys have all of my contact info. I can throw this link in there as well so you guys can have a full breakdown of, all my resources. Of course, I have a couple listings there that I do open houses for. So has all of
Perfect.
my info, application if you want to apply online already with us. And it has all of my info there. So, and I always
Very
say
nice.
any questions, concerns, call or text that number and that goes directly to me and I'll shoot you back whenever you need a question answered.
And that's wonderful because us realtors need to get a hold of you too.
Mhm.
Ivan, do you have any contact information you'd like to share? Maybe somebody would like to get a hold of you and start looking at some homes with you and Andrew.
Of course, of course. No, yeah, my phone number is 559. You can reach me at 559-814-9944. That's my direct line. Feel free to call, text, email as well. Email is going to be first name ivan.leon.ca@exprealty.com. So if you guys are looking to sell a home, buy a home, or just want to reach out to ask any questions, feel more than willing to. I'm available 24/7 technically, so I'm always answering my phone and my emails. So feel
Wonderful.
free, and same thing for Andrew as well. So we'll work closely.
Very nice. And I work a lot with Ivan. So if there's a question he can't answer, he'll reach out to me and we'll get it taken care of for you. We're a team. I'm Realtor Linda Peltz. I'm here to help you with all you and your friends' real estate needs and questions. If you need Andrew's information and maybe can't locate it on down below, feel free to give me a call. My license number is 01997670. Everybody have a wonderful day, and I will catch you on the next one.